The United States Capitol is a world-recognized symbol of democratic government. It has housed Congress since 1800. It is the very place where the Senate and the House of Representatives come together to write this nation's laws. It is the place where presidents are inaugurated. It is also the place where presidents come and deliver their State of the Union address. On Wednesday, January the 6th, this day, which is recognized as Three Kings Day, as many around this country and the world were celebrating the three kings that came and brought frankincense, myrrh, and gold, and laid it at the feet of Jesus, acknowledging him as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. On this day, we watched in horror at an illegal coup and a deadly insurrection desecrated these hallowed halls. We have not seen anything like this since August of 1814, when the British, led by General Robert Ross, came and systematically destroyed public buildings, including the White House and also the U.S. Capitol. There are many aspects of this that has caused great outrage for me and for many of you. And there are just three things that I want to talk with you about that are burning within my soul. The first thing that I want to bring to your attention has to do with loss of life. At the same time that this country has been vulnerable and in crisis with the coronavirus, as now we have seen more than 4,000 persons losing their life on a daily basis. At the same time, when we're battling this virus in a pandemic, we have seen innocent blood being shed. We've seen many people who were injured, many people who died. 5 persons, in fact, did lose their lives. And we saw all of this at the hands of a disaffected armed mob that brazenly forced its way into the people's house. They broke windows. They busted down doors. They destroyed property. They trampled, and also they beat people. They found themselves demonstrating no reverence and respect for the sacred workspace. And they even had the unmitigated goal to place their feet on the desk of our elected officials and pitching the Confederate flag, the very flag that thousands of people lost their lives and much blood was shed in the Civil War so that that flag would be silenced. What an awful tragedy and a great embarrassment to this country. The second thing that I want to bring to your attention that was deeply disturbing to me is that this was a crime against democracy. This tragedy unfolded at the summoning of the President of the United States, who called for a trial by combat and unleashed an all-out assault on democracy by his supporters on the Capitol and state buildings in various locations. This was a high crime against democracy. The people had clearly spoken. Joe Biden had won the popular vote as well as the electoral vote. Persons were given the opportunities to challenge and to contest, and lawsuits were written, and every court rejected the lawsuits, saying that the claims were baseless. There was no fraud, and there were no illegalities. And yet, the U.S. president and many of Republican colleagues aided and abetted this president and would not accept the outcome of the election and continued to spew disinformation and lies, which became fodder for this all-out assault. And while the U.S. Congress was gathered together, the representatives and the Senate, counting the electoral votes that had been given to them by each state, that's when a hostile takeover of the constitutional process, transferring power after an election, was attempted. There is a reckoning for democracy that goes beyond one person. Here's another thing that was deeply disturbing to me, and I'm sure to you as well. This is that there was a catastrophic, full-scale failure to protect. 3 days, listen, 3 days before the riot, the Pentagon asked the Capitol Police, "Do you need any help?" They said no. The Justice Department asked them again on Wednesday, January 6th, the day of the attack, "Do you need any help?" They said no. And while this volatile crowd continued to increase its population to well over 500 persons, listen, there were no horses, there were no dogs, there were no air patrol, there were no outer perimeters, there were no National Guards, no FBI, no Maryland or Virginia police, no reinforcements of Park, Capitol, or Metropolitan Police, no knee on the neck, there were no mass deaths, and instead of mass arrest, what we saw was permission to pass perimeters, for people to pass perimeters. We saw escorts back out of the hallowed grounds after they had desecrated and had even taken selfies with these terrorists. There was passive control of a mostly white, violent crowd of extremists, as opposed to the aggressive tactics that were used to suppress Black Lives Matter peacefully protesting in the streets, met with tear gas and with great strength. Certainly there is a tale of two Americas. Well, the question is, will these shocking images of stir public consciousness and galvanize us to rise to the occasion to do something about these crime of injustices? Can we come together and work toward breaking this Trump fever? Surely accountability and discipline is in order and is happening now. Clearly, we are a country that has a lot of problems, and we are a sick country that has a lot of need for help and assistance to help us to get well and whole. And so what do, sisters and brothers? We keep on voting. We keep on exercising our voice and going to the ballots. We keep speaking up and speaking out against racism and white supremacy. And we also keep holding our elected officials accountable to do the right thing in the eyes of eternity and no longer aid and abet a rogue leader who is tearing our democracy down and leading us away from our constitutional identity. And we keep on praying. And my prayer is simply this, that God would show us the way toward unity in the midst of our brokenness and division, that God would restore our broken pieces and help us to become whole. There have been much too many breaches in 2020. Let's pray together and trust that the Lord will show us the way forward.